Oh, thank you. Thank you to my colleague, Senator Coyne. It just shows that there is a team of people here in the West that are fighting for funding for the population in the West. We are the seventh largest population, Minister, 180,000 people living in County Galway. We are the second largest county, and that means a lot of roads, a hell of a lot of roads in Galway. As a Galway County Councillor elected in 2019, I'm fully aware of the devastating impact in terms of the rollout of services to people and families who live in our towns and villages. And this is our rural future. These are all the policies we want to roll out at a local level. We cannot do it. We cannot do it because my own municipal district of Ballinasloe, which goes from Ballymoe, close to Castlereen Roscommon, all the way down to Banagher Bridge. In one section, we've over 3 vacant positions out of 9 for general operatives. We're down an engineer. We have another technician that was again promised last year that still isn't in place. We need clear guidance of core funding, as Senator Coyne has mentioned. We need to know, from housing to active travel to fire services, libraries, it impacts on our ability to provide services in the county for enterprise, our planners, water services, economic development, our tourism and heritage officers. We're trying to promote hidden heartlands. We're trying to bring more income into our area that is already suffering in terms of not being able to access these services that we should be seeing from our local authorities. I know with Senator Coyne here, we've been working closely with Minister Peter Burke. Minister, you'd be fully aware that we've raised this a number of times previously. Our budget, it's crucial. We know that, as Senator Coyne mentioned, it's 802 per capita. When you break that down, for example, in housing, when you look at each section within a local authority, for housing, the national average is €480 per person. That's the national average. In County Galway, we have €95 per person allocated. Minister, it is beyond time that we state that Galway County Council needs support now. It needs exceptional support, and I look forward to what the response from the department is in relation to this.
Thank you, Senator. Minister, 4 minutes.
Thank you very much. And just to say at the outset, Minister Burke has informed me that you both have been in constant contact with him around this, and you've secured a package last year through your work, and that he will work closely with you again over the next period of time. The local property tax, as we know, was introduced to provide a stable and sustainable funding base for the local authority sector, providing greater levels of connection between local revenue and associated expenditure decisions. LPT allocations to local authorities for 2022 amount to €523.9 million, and this figure includes the Exchequer contribution to equalisation funding of €34.5 million. And Galway County Council was allocated €14.5 million for 2022. And in addition to the LPT allocation, the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage has also agreed a provisional allocation of €4.44 million for Galway County Council in respect of this additional costs that will arise in 2022 as a consequence of the national pay agreements. And this allocation relates specifically to increases in rates of pay and public service pension reduction resulting from the unwinding of FEMPI legislation and increases in pay and pensions relating to the Building Momentum Agreement. So the overall aim of the allocation is to ease the burden on local authorities of the increased costs in 2022. And as part of the budget process, the Department engaged with the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform on the financial impact on the sector and secured the allocation which will assist local authorities to meet the costs arising. And across all schemes and funding resources, the Department has provided €82.9 million in 2020 and €85.9 million in 2021 to Galway County Council. The payments in 2020 also included an allocation to Galway County Council of €1 million, funding that was linked to the operation of municipal districts, and in 2021 Galway received an allocation of €600,000 for additional discretionary income. And it should also be noted that unprecedented support was provided for local authorities during the COVID pandemic, and one of the earliest priorities was to secure funding to provide a waiver of commercial rates for businesses impacted by the pandemic while simultaneously supporting the local authorities. And in 2020, Galway County Council applied 100% commercial rates waiver to just over 3,500 businesses and recouped €10.2 million in that regard. In addition, in recognition of COVID-related income losses and additional expenditure incurred, funding of €6.7 million was provided to Galway County Council in 2020. And this support continued in 2021 when the Government introduced a 9-month commercial rates waiver applying to the businesses most seriously affected by the restrictions and a more targeted waiver for the final quarter of the year. Galway County Council received 7.3 million for this waiver and an additional 1 million for COVID-related income losses and expenditure for 2021. So the programme for government commits to bringing forward LPT reforms, including providing for all money collected locally to be retained within the county. And the government has signalled its intention that the move to 100% local retention of LPT will be introduced over the 23 and 24 budgetary cycles. And it is expected that the LPT yield will change following revaluation last November, and the distribution model will be reviewed, which new yield per local authority is fully quantified. However, the final figures are not yet available. But given the need for timely information to be provided to local authorities for their budgetary process and the need for final LPT figures to inform that, it is not expected that baselines will be reviewed in advance of the 23 local authority budget process, and each local authority situation, as you know, is complex. So it's important that sufficient time is taken to analyse and assess potential options in that respect. Preliminary census data will also form an important input to that deliberation, and the Minister will be considering, in consultation with DEEPR, the potential for a move towards 100% retention for 2023. And I acknowledge the current funding pressures on local authorities, and as such, the funding for Galway County Council and other local authorities will be kept under review as part of the normal estimates process for 23 and in the context of the aforementioned final LPT yield following the revaluation process.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Senator. Minister, it is important that, as you've said there, that taxes that are collected in the local area will come back to the local area. So in relation to LPT, but it is important to recognise that the core funding for Galway County Council is the issue here. The core funding, and that is where I know Minister Burke, Minister O'Brien have to engage with Galway County Council in relation to this. There has been an increase of over 6 to 8% for commercial rates within Galway County Council. It shows that the Executive is making commitments to raise funds. We know that income has to be generated within the local area itself, but we need to be able to have the resources to be able to do that. If we don't have the resources to bring enterprise into our area, how are we going to have the commercial rates that we're going to be able to deliver these services within our county? We need the resources on the ground to do that for Irish Water and for a myriad of other things. So please, Minister, we appreciate your support on this.
Minister.
Thank you, Senators Kine and Dolan. And I've noted what you said about Galway being the 7th largest population, and what your contribution around FEMPI, and also about core funding, which I think is important. And I want to conclude by acknowledging that Galway County Council moved to increase commercial rates for 2022 in order to increase the level of funding available to the Council, which made an important contribution to the overall position. But of course, the Senator is aware that local authorities may also vary their local LPT rate by up to 15%. And authorities that increase the rate retain 100% of the additional income, while local authorities that decrease the rate bear the full reduction in income. And Galway County Council has opted not to avail of this opportunity to raise additionally locally sourced income since 2018. And what I'm told here is that the Council could have benefited from an additional 2.2 million in 2022 if it had applied the additional 15% upward local variation in the same way as many other local authorities have. But that said, the funding position of Galway County Council will be kept under review during the 23 estimates process. I know Minister Burke is interested in your contribution here today, and it will work very closely with you going forward, and recognises the work that you've done to date for Galway County Council, and he'll continue to support you in your respective roles.